If somebody was like, you want to go live on TikTok, I'd be like, you can go live on TikTok.
And the funny part is, Instagram is the only live I acknowledge. But even when people be like, I'm now live on Instagram, so and so, and it come down and you gotta swipe it up, I'm like, this is a waste of time. This is ghetto. Don't ever.
And you gotta be doing something. Don't be on your life just like, hi guys.
Like, hey guys. My God, so many people in my life. First of all, I'm not joining nobody's live.
It has to be some type of circus up in there. Do an act. Be a jester. You know what I'm saying?
Now they got a feature where they could tag people. They could tag their whole everybody that follows them in live. So it'd be like, so and so, something joined you in a live, and I'm like, so one time I joined into a live that because it was the first time I experienced it. It said you were mentioned in the live, quote unquote. So they can tag everybody and they follow and mention you, even though they're not mentioning you. Make you think to get you to join in. So I did it for the first time when it first rolled out. I was like, what's this? They mentioned me. That's weird. So I joined in. This is a bunch of nonsense. I said, this is a waste of time. I was so pissed off. First, I want to go into a side of a tangent. I want to talk about, I want to give you my appreciation. And here's why. Because I don't think I've ever vocalized it to you. Because you vocalized several appreciative moments to me. And this is my moment when I was like reflecting today, kind of on the sideline in the back of my brain, like a silo tab in my brain today. I had to give you like my friend things because like I really realized like you taught me so much. Like I didn't realize this year like how much you coming into my life in this last year really taught me about just in your free spirited nature about how to tap into that aspect of myself. And I think us partnering as friends really expanded that within me. And I think before that, I don't know where I was energetically, but you helped me tap into the free spirited nature of my energy. And that really kind of catapulted me into a lot of things and like spiritually, that has been really beneficial for me as an individual. So, and I'm saying a lot of vague, big, like random words.
No, but I know exactly what you mean though.
You know?
Because I think like it worked both ways.
Okay.
And not only in like, because you mean spiritually, but I mean expensive in every area of my life, whether it be creatively or emotionally. Mm-hmm. I feel the same way. Because right now you were about to say it, and I'm like, bitch, you give into that life, maybe vulnerable. Now I'm about to cry on Zoom for no fucking reason.
No, well, Phyllis, you're gonna cry. I'm gonna let you cry. I hope you got some tissues back there with all the decor. But we're not trying to have a crying podcast today. That's for curated relevance. That's real mature. I call curated relevance my mature older sister. You know, it's kind of like mature. It's kind of like, you know, reflective talk and talking about the culture and the community, right? Power to the people. This one is very like, let's let out here. I'm gonna have some wine and we're gonna get into all the tea that we talk about when we faded in New York City during the pandemic at my apartment. The many times that we've done that throughout this pandemic earlier on, and just have a good old time and talking about just ridiculous stuff.
You know,
so that's what I wanted this version of the pod to be, and I'm so glad you could join me, and I'm really, really happy about this. All right,
I'm glad you invited me.
Of course. So you know what? Let's get into. Now that I said that, I want to get into a second side tangent. I think I found in you like a friend soulmate, and because I say that, let's get into how we met. Do you want to get into how we met? Because it's a little bit messy, but we should get into it.
Oh yay!
Because it was so random that like we have to get into it.
And then there was like 2 stops before we even got to be friends.
Literally.
Because I think like first we were like, oh, like she cool, but then we both didn't like reach out at first. We were just like, yeah, we gonna see. Because I was chatting with Anne for a long time, and so she was like, oh, you wanted to do the brunch, and then you invited me to the brunch, and then that's when we started talking, and then we became friends. But then if it wasn't for M before.
Right. And I want to get into that, and I'll let you talk first, and then I'll get into the M meeting and how that led to us creating this like soulmate of a friendship that we didn't expect. Whatever, let's back up. So I'm in New York City. I'm fresh off of like a breakup. I decide that I'm gonna do pop boom. I'm gonna be a free bitch, and I'm going to like create friends and like vibe out and go party and have a good time because I've been so stifled and like and suppressed down. I feel like I was in a war. I was like, I felt like I was free. I was so free. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I said, I'm going to go off all these friend apps. Like, people were telling me, like, about all these friend apps. And I'm like, well, chill, child. Let me join one of them things. So I found Bumble BFF, child. And I'm plugging them, even though they're not sponsored of this good podcast, but I'm plugging them because I did find a few cute people that was like really pivotal. Anyway, so I joined Bubble BFF, blah blah blah. I meet our other good friend, and then I meet another woman, another young lady who we'll call Jasmine. We'll call her Jasmine. So we met this girl named Jasmine. I met this girl named Jasmine on Bumble BFF. So BFF is like the friend version of the dating app Bumble. So I was like, again, first off a breakup, I'm going through. I'm like, let's create friends. Like, I don't really want to date because I was like so over that. I was like, oh, I'm exhausted. Let's just be friends. So I was like, yes, let's create friends. Let's be in the city and let's live like a really like black version of like
Sex in the City,
or like girlfriends, like a girlfriend's 2.0, but hashtag LGBTQ plus, IA plus. I can't even say it. IA plus plus. So I was trying to create that, like, with my Bubble BFF. Like, it was cool if I got some straights, but I wasn't really looking for that. Like, I said in my profile, I was like, I prefer if you were part of the community, but if you not, that's okay too. So anyway, I meet a few people. One of our other friends was the first people that I met, and then I met this person named Jasmine. So Jasmine, like, we're creating just a friend version of Yap Y'all, mind you. So we're all vibing platonically. Good vibes. She's a lot of grand risings and morning sunsets, like happy mornings, like type of person energy to me. And I'm like, oh, she's cool. Like she's giving off that good energy. On the onset at least, right? So I'm like, I yeah. On the onset, she's giving like grand risings and happy risings and moons and suns and stars. So I'm like, yeah, shout out to her. Let's vibe out. Let's chat back and forth. We were doing it, going well. Conversation was going real platonic. And when I mean by platonic, I mean friendly. Like we were really having a seemingly friendly engagement. And I was like, this is great. Like, that's what I was looking for. It's like friendly connections, really building that network of friends. And she didn't live so far. She lived like at the time in Harlem, and I was living Upper West. So I was like, all right, let's go do it. That's not far. So which I'm looking for. She's like, okay, we're going out. Come vibe. So I said, all right, yeah, I'll come vibe. I bought some drinks. Went up random, and y'all pray for me because I don't know why I thought I was just gonna meet someone for the first time. I was meeting people for the first time, like in settings, like at this person's house. Like the other friend I met, who's like a good friend of mine now today. It was like in a public setting, like at a public, like actually LGBTQ party. So that was fine. It was a public setting. This person I met, for some reason, I thought it was okay to meet this person at their house. Like, oh yeah, let's go hang out, girl. Like, come on, girl. I was like, what? When I think about it in hindsight, I'm like, I'm ridiculous. Like, who does that? Like,
yeah, the first time. If you're not going to smash, you know me when I'm ready to risk it. I just feel like we gonna get on FaceTime. I want to see if we can vibe on FaceTime. No, I always FaceTime first.
Smart.
Because you gotta, even before meeting in public, because I don't want to take my time, take the fucking MTA, and then come to see you, and it's a dub.
Not the MTA. I'm screaming. Not the MTA. I can't stand the MTA. It's so annoying and delayed. It gets on my nerves. It gets in the way.
That's why I'm like, I gotta see if we could just have a conversation to start with. So FaceTime, and then I can see if you're a catfish. Everything just
smart. It builds up. I didn't even think about FaceTime, and that's how I know I'm 50 in spirit because I didn't even think about that. My mom immediately was like, child, you can't be going out there. I really just thought about that in that way. And FaceTime, duh, obviously. Okay, my bad. So anyway, okay, so that makes sense. I'm ridiculous. But anyway, I didn't do any of that, child. We texted, we chatted on through the app.
And then you just went to the house?
We exchanged personal numbers, and then we was just chatting through that. Grand risings and stars and stuff. I was like, well, this person really nice. So let's go. Yeah, I'll come hang out with you in Brooklyn with your friends. So I come hang out with their group of people. Whatever comes to your apartment, and I won't go into details because I don't want to be crazy. Really, I went to their place, and there was a lot of things going through my mind. And so this is what I'll tell y'all. Now, I don't think so highly of myself where I'm like, oh, I'm so desirable. Oh my gosh, me. Like that's not my energy. If I was a Leo moon, probably, but I'm not, or Leo sun or moon, probably, but because I'm not, then no, that's not how I think about things. So naturally, I'm just a very reserved and laid back and observant person. So I'm going and I'm observing, and I'm just meeting this person friendly, like bringing my drinks. I come to the apartment, And the immediate entry was with, their other friend who was also there. So both of them came to enter the door. And literally the immediate entry was like, the energy immediately shifted from what the platonic I thought it was via chatting, however many days we were chatting, so immediately I felt, and again, I'm a water sign, and when I feel things like immediately, I felt the shift so swiftly. We only said 2 words. I felt it. I was like, oh, this is shifted from platonic to like not platonic in her head just now.
For sure.
And I was like, but I was still like, maybe I'm overthinking things because I doubt my like intuition. A lot of always done that, but I need to stop doing that. But I doubted it. I was like, maybe not. Maybe I'm projecting.
Also, you try not to be cocky because then you be like, oh, I be thinking everybody want me.
And because I'm so naturally not like that, and I grew up so shy that I'm like, for me to say that, it has to be something. But I may be projecting, like you're saying. So let me just fall back and let's see how we hang out in person at the apartment before we go out. So we hang out in the apartment maybe for like an hour and a half. We go on the train. We get to Brooklyn to meet her friends. She's like, don't worry, they're gay too. Like, it'll be cool. I was like, okay, cool. To meet her friends, who happens to be you and your sister.
Who's not gay, for the record.
Who's not gay. Which you were. So she was like, they're gay. I was like, okay, cool. So anyway, so we get there. Boom. We're energy. Blah. We're in the line. You come. You and your sister come. Cool. Like, oh, this is my friend, Chris. And I'm like, okay, cool. And we meet. And
we spoke like that.
The funny part is we did not even speak that time. Like, we didn't speak much at all. So we were vibing, and we just all were kind of vibing and dancing, and then whatever. The second piece to that is we go to that first time meeting the girl, Jasmine, and we meet, but we didn't really connect, or we didn't really talk that much. So the next time that I'm meeting up with the girl, Jasmine, she's like, okay, yeah, I'm not gonna say that word. So fast forward, it was later revealed in the first meeting that what I thought about from the platonic, switch from platonic to romantic kind of energy, definitely did happen, and then an exchange happened, and so that was made clear at the end of the night. So my intuition was right. Who knew? Fast forward, end of the night, we're texting, and she's like, the next day, she's like, I would love for you to come hang out with me. I'm gonna go to Cubby Hole. If anybody who's gay in New York City, Cubby Hole. Hopefully, Cubby Hole, and that's all I'm gonna say there. And that's where we went. So I said, sure. I'm gonna meet up with my other friend from high school. Like, we're gonna be hanging out in town. Sure, I'm gonna be in the area anyway. I'll come vibe out with you. We'll both come.
Yeah.
So I said, sure, why not? Because I was like not really feeling the energy. Because I saw the shift and I wasn't really interested in going there. But because I was gonna hang out in the area, I said, let's just go and vibe out. Like, it's not a big deal. So we go. She's late. I'm okay with it because I was with my friend. It wasn't really a big deal to me that she was like super, super late. She gets there super, super late. And she's like, oh, my friend Chris is coming. I said, okay, cool. I guess she didn't realize, or maybe forgot in her mind, that I said that I was going to be with my friend and I was bringing him too. And then I also ended up inviting Mary, who is our person that we both like ended up connecting with separately as a friend too, who I also met on BFF, ironically. And I was inviting them for the first time to meet us out in a public setting just to meet us. So I was inviting them too, but I think so when that person came, I think she perceived our exchange as like less than platonic. And I think because she already got in her mind that we were in a more romantic route, or, that it was like, I think that pissed her off. I'm not going to say I know that pissed her off just based on recalling events after the time. I think she realized the energy wasn't reciprocal. She left. She got her feelings. She left. So she kind of like just skipped out, like, I'm leaving, and kind of left. And was like, all right. And it was like 20 minutes after she had came. So we was like, what? But by the time that happened, you had come, whatever. And you just got there. You're like, what? I was the energy was kind of like, what's going on? And so she left. She just like left out the door. We were just all looking like, what's her problem? We were like, I don't know. And then we just kind of like, all right, we're going to get some drinks. Like, we didn't even think on it that much. She was like,
yeah, we were just like,
I don't know. I was like, is she good? Just because I have a pulse. So I'm like, as a human, I'm like, is she good? She okay? She didn't really say while she was leaving. She was like, yeah, you kind of being, because you were her friend. So I didn't want to kind of get into it. So I said, all right, cool. So I was like, my other friend had to go back to, he was in the next state over. So he had to leave, go to class and work in the morning, whatever. So we were just there with the new friend I met on BFF and the friend of the friend I also met on BFF. So I was like, this is kind of awkward, but let's vibe with it. We was like, we're going to get drinks. We sat in the cubbyhole. We just kind of vibed out. And then we went for a walk, had fries, minded our whole business. And there was a lot of other things going on. But for the most part, that was the first time we were able to have an exchange. Yeah. Because that person kind of removed themselves because they were in their feelings. But that's their business. So we create this party. We have this fun party, creating this little exclusive type event for gay people in the city and queer Black people in the city, basically. And so it was this moment. Another person at the party was like, and we had hung out a few times, Cubby Hole, Henrietta Hudson, maybe in the brunch, right? Mm-hmm. In this moment, and this one person who was like, cool, I never met them, but they were at the party, and they were like, are you guys best friends? And I was like, no, we just met. Like, we literally had to spend maybe a month or so, month and a half before that moment. And that was one of the moments where I was like, wait, that's funny that people pick up on that energy. The familiarity of us, even though we only knew each other for maybe 2 months. No, we was vibing right away. Other people kept picking that up and kept asking me or sliding me you guys are best friends. And I thought those moments made me realize, okay, we're going to be really good friends.
Because we just kept hanging out, which is funny because we've talked about this before, how we not the hangout type. And then I'm just like, wait, and then I saw you then I saw you then I saw you this time, and they're like, damn, wait. And then we started that thing when we would see each other basically every other week.
Right.
For a while, we would just be like, okay, so what we doing?
We're going out on Friday. What you doing? Period. Literally, that's what we did. Because, and the funny part about that is, you're right. We're obviously not knowing each other before, we're knowing each other. How my friendships are with people, and I said this before, it's very distant. It's very I'm very much a detached individual, and that's trauma and therapy. So that's another episode. But I'm a very detached person, a lot of times. So a lot of my friendships, even people who I hold dearly or called best friends, was I wouldn't speak to them for 6 months to a year, and they'd be like, whatever. Or they reach out to me, or I reach out to them, and then just be randomly, and it'd be months and months without us ever even really exchanging any words. And I didn't, in my spirit, consider a lot of those folks really, really close friends, but I was saying it. I was going along with it because it felt like, oh, well, they're saying it, so why not? But I didn't really feel that energetically. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the connections felt like it was good when we were around each other. It wasn't bad, I'm saying that. But I think a lot of them were just okay, we're having a good time, but I don't care to sorry, good.
I was going to say, when I knew it was cemented, I think that in public, we're not people that speak a lot, but when we're comfortable with other people, we talk a lot.
Right.
And then I think we would just be sitting and just talking for 4 hours, and I'm like,
literally. literally. And I was like, that may be interesting. I would go home and be like, this is interesting. Because I don't vibe, I literally, I'm not that. So when you mentioned that, they make sense, because we're both not that energy. And then with each other, we were the energy we thought we weren't. So it was, but that tells that it was natural, and it wasn't something we were just saying to say, but we actually felt it in it was beyond what we usually would do as people. So yeah. I don't know. That's all right. That was starting the podcast. I know that's sorry, y'all. That's whatever. Anyway, we're gonna get into it. Say your name if you want, because it's a queer-based podcast. Say how you identify. Whatever else you want to share about yourself.
I identify as a lesbian. The name is Chris, or if you know me, it's Christine. But if you don't know me, it's Chris. And that's it, pretty much. I was good. At one point, I was like, shit, is she gonna ask me for my Instagram or Twitter? And I'm like, there's no point. There's no point, because I'm never on and I don't post anything. So if you find me, find me.
Alright, y'all. Alright, so let's get into the topic today. Lesbians, strap-ons, and if that makes you less gay, if you use them more like a Messiah you. Alright, so on Twitter, I ain't gonna say their name, but somebody on Twitter said, I don't understand why females be lesbian, but end up letting the other female use a strap, you can't get a fat N-word for that.
He didn't even mix it in his own sentence, because he said, but then be letting another female. And that should have been his key point.
No, because when I was thinking naturally, when I read it, first I had to read a couple times just to make sure I saw what I saw, because, ignorance, and I just don't want to assume people are ignorant naturally. I just want to give them a chance to not be. So I read it a couple times. But when I read it the third time, I realized it was exactly what I thought it was, and it was ignorant. And so when I was like, I realized that people really don't know what they're talking about, and people at large really don't have a lot of information about. I'll speak specifically to what I identify as a queer woman. They don't know about the queer woman experience, and they don't know about sex with queer women. So we hear so much about heterosex and all that stuff, and blah blah blah. I'm bored of it, child. Tired of it.
Nah, but I feel like even in the sense, it's like, are you having sex with women? Because there are straight women that don't even like penetrative sex.
Right. It's a life business.
There's never a time in my life where I'm like, yo, straight people are doing this in bed. Like, it does not cross my mind. Like, I don't care.
So I think that's very right, because you're right. I haven't thought about this until you said it, but I don't think about it when I see it, and I hear about it often on social media and through TV. I'm like, oh, exhausting, fast forward. But other than that, I don't think about it in the middle of my waking day. Like, let me tweet about this. Straight people, I wonder what they're doing, and if they do this, then there's that. I don't. How do I say this? I don't give a fuck. I don't care, because I know that I'm having very, very interesting and very, very awesome experiences with the people that I have experiences with sexually. So I'm not thinking about what another group of people whose sex that I don't identify with are doing. Like, it's not. I don't care what cis-het people are doing when they have sex with each other.
One of the conversations that came up that I thought was really interesting and personal, but I feel like a lot of people don't discuss, is that the person giving it, outside of like giving pleasure, a lot of the time you receive pleasure from it. Cause
oh yes, immediately.
If you set it up the right way,
Period. That's the big misconception, that there's no possibility for feeling on the giving end. And that is a misconception, clearly. That's why we call it that, because I've been there and I've done that, and I got a receipt for it, honey child. That's what I'm going to say on that.
And that's that.
And that's on period. Period.
And
but I love
this point,
I get a big cackle.
You can't even put it in the phallic centric space, because that's not what got stimulated. So,
right.
It's a means to an end.
It's a means to an end. The person receiving enjoys the penetration and the feeling of it all internally. And then on the other end, there's a clitoral and sensational vibrational experience going on visually, but clitoral specifically happening on the person that's giving. So there's a good even exchange there, oftentimes more than not, that's happening. So it's an amazing reciprocal experience, but because it's not happening in the... Oh, sorry, I'm going to edit that out because that's not good. I'm eating pasta. Like, it's good. I'm hungry still. Because it's not happening in the way in which people are used to that penetrative experience happening, and the sensations that are supposed to be felt in that experience, people renounce it, or they think it's not valid because they don't realize like the experience is not happening the same way, but it's happening either way. The experience is happening. Whether or not you like the way it's happening, it's fucking happening. Everybody's having a good time, not just the person receiving it. And I think that's the big World Wide Web misconception about women to women relationships when it comes to using phallic objects in the bedroom. It's just my tea on that.
But I guess it also goes with like how men are the main consumer of like lesbian porn. So I guess it is a fascination for them, and it is something that's on their mind, which is really funny because it's like, but you're not a part of it. So
right, and that's interesting. I think we can kind of slightly tangent into that, like the fetishization of like lesbian or women on women, women to women like sexual relations are obviously so fetishized by the cis-het community. Black, white, doesn't matter. It's widely marketable and fetishized, so that in real life, when their experiences with women who love women, have a person in front of them, they don't know how to engage with it, and obviously they don't know how to actually speak on it without the bias of what they experience through porn, which is obviously marketed and created and shot to cater to their interests, because clearly the largest demo of people who actually consume that category of porn are not people who actually look like the category of porn. And that's just T on T, because I'm just not sitting here watching some two women have sex on Pornhub.com. I just really am not, because I just don't find it interesting. It doesn't cater to me. And the misconception is that it does. And it's like, Chad, that's not for me, Chad, that's for some other folks. You watch that? No chat, no man, Miss Mamas. No, I don't watch it. Absolutely not. It's ridiculous. For example, and I'll go throw this in a little bit of tea. A large percentage of like lesbian and queer women watch a lot of male to male porn, because we watch again what you don't have,
because they seem like they like it more. I'm not gonna lie,
and they feel like they're having an amazing time.
But to me, it's like, it's also funny because they don't even consider the person that's on the other end of the strap on, because it's like, what is the experience in that?
Right,
it's completely different from having a biological dick. Like, it's that's not the same experience that you're having.
Exactly. And to be clear, right, exactly. And to be clear, I think, like, because the statement was, I don't understand why females be lesbian but end up letting the other female use a strap. Like, they can't get a dude for that, basically. And the point is not that the phallic-like shape is to remind you of a dude or to be in a place of a dude. It's the fact that I enjoy women in all
in that sensation. So just put those two together.
I like a woman to use that on
their strap on. Nobody's gendering their strap on. I'm not like, oh, you like that male dick? Like,
yeah, you're right. That's what they must think. I really think that's what they think, and I'm not even guessing. Like, that's what I think that they think, because there's no other explanation as to why people become waking up and the Beyonce's good internet in the morning time and just have this to say. It's like, to the World Wide Web. Yeah. Like, why is this your business? You're not even lesbian. You're a man. Why is that? Why do you care? That's the funny part. Is why you care. You're right though.
And on top of that, it's like, I know you only took the reflection one step. Like, you would just say, oh, phallic-like object, penis, man. Right. And you didn't try to like take it one step further. Like, I could just say that like the reflection just stopped there. Like, it just stayed in the narrow box that you know. Because it's just like, bro, it was the same thing, you know, like, okay, now we're gonna get into deeper shit related to straps, but it'd be like, you know, people that specifically like getting head on their strap. And I think that's like when it's really important to decenter it from like dudes, because clearly it's not about the sensation.
Right.
Because clearly I can't feel it. Like,
right. So it's not about the direct sensation, it's about the sensation you get from the visual, which is in front of you. And the visual is such a big part of sexual intimacy, and I think people have such a misconception. Everybody does, but I think cishet people put their foot in their fucking mouth every single time that they tweet something about relationships and intimacy, because it shows how unclear that they are about like their own engagement with sexual intimacy, and it makes me feel for their partners, because it's like you have absolutely no understanding of anything that's going on.
Yeah,
because you think that okay, if you're lesbian, you should like why have another woman give you strap on a man? If you're lesbian, why, like, you don't feel nothing from someone giving you head on it, so why do it?
They were real puzzled when Young M was like, give me head. I just knew all the straight men was like, what is happening? I don't get it.
They're like, oh my god, the world is falling, the sky is falling.
They're only like the people that answer those tweets are also straight people, and I'm just like, so we just going in circles.
Okay, so this is another one, same statement, but it seems to be from a woman. Is it me or is a lesbian getting fucked with a strap on a walking contradiction? Screaming, I'm screaming. I just, okay, next. Okay.
And well, in the same direction, it would be like, so if I fuck you with a strap on, it's the same as a dude. So why won't you let me fuck then?
Right. Oh, you know what? Exactly. But that lends itself to the conversation that will also kind of stemmed off of that on Twitter. Well, I can't find the exact tweet, but it basically was to the effect of like, okay, well then let's talk about bisexuals who say that like, I don't want to be strapped when I'm with a woman, but I want to be fucked when I'm with a man. Like, I don't mind it with the penetration with a man, but with a woman, then no, I would rather get it from a man. How do you feel about that statement? Because I saw that and I saw a whole thread about that, and I was like, what the heck am I reading?
First of all, I didn't even know that was a thing, because you know what's funny is that somehow, some way, I've always ended up with people that were either bi or pan.
Same.
Like, I've never dated people that were like lesbians.
Right, neither.
And they all let me strap, so I didn't know that was a thing.
You know what? Okay, since you said that you didn't have experience with them, I'll give the opposite experience. I have mostly only dated bi and pan, but I also have dated lesbian or been intimate with lesbian identified women. But for those that were bi, I have heard, and you know some personal stories that I've shared, but I have heard like in conversations that naturally, if you're mature, you're with someone, you're going to be intimate with them, you have a conversation, especially several times, and you see it being something. You have an intimate conversation about what you enjoy sexually, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in one of my pursuits with the partner, it was kind of like, asking, okay, do you like this? Do you like this? And I was like, yeah, I like penetration, but like, I don't want you to like. If I want penetration, I'll get that from I'll get the real thing, and so I've heard that sentiment not only from that partner, but I've heard in other variations from other people who identify as bi. And
but
so,
do you think that's like more of like a heteronormative perspective, or like the actual feeling of it?
And I don't know. I don't know. I can't speak on that one because I don't identify as that. So it's really hard to remember like, well, what was inside their brain? Because I really be thinking about it, but I'm like, I really don't know. So my tea is in having such ignorant state. I call it an ignorant statement because it's very ignorant to say someone sharing, what are you interested in sexually, and then you say, and actually my like, I would rather get the real thing. It's like if you say no, I don't prefer it, fine. Because I would rather get the real thing. Now you're letting me into an insight into how you think about things and how you internalize even yourself. Yeah. Because you're engaged, just because you're bi and you're engaged with men doesn't negate the fact that you also engage with women, and so that you need to show up in a respectful way, even more so because you are able to have the heteronormative experience if you so choose. That may be controversial. People in the comments probably going, or people whatever in their heads, when they listen to it on audio, gonna be like, dang, whatever. But that's your business. I just think what I think. And I know the woke Twitter community be like, oh my god, everybody's deserving of their experiences, and you shouldn't tell nobody, and you shouldn't be biphobic, because it's like, yes, nobody saying that you gotta be biphobic. Like, obviously you want to make sure everybody feels validated and a part of the community, and that I champion 1,000%. But I think the gray area. Go ahead.
No, sorry. You can go. You know what I think? I think it's like in both sections, there's like different type of work that needs to be done, and they're not mutually exclusive. So in a sense, I do think that like some lesbians need to address their insecurity. Absolutely. Because a lot of it stems from that. Right. And then I think also some bi people need to address their heteronormativity, because you can be bi without your sexuality being centered around heteronormativity. And right. I feel like in my experience, because obviously the world is shaped that way, that still shows up in their daily lives. So then it's like that same thing of accountability, where we need you to take a step and we need them to take a step, because sometimes we be saying some shit and I'm like, you know what, I'm not gonna lie, they're right, you being biphobic, right, and this is coming from your insecurity. Right. But then bi women be saying some shit where I'm like, I think you just need to broaden your perspective and also think about the type of people that you're dating. So if you're dating lesbians, the speech and the perspective and the actions need to match. Mm-hmm. So that's just how I feel about it. But yeah. No, that's good. That's quality tea, and I feel that, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. And because again, my Gemini, Venus, and Mars doesn't allow me to step back in the earth sign like nature and be like, okay,
I can be very, really, very like quick and I can very have a lot of very asshole like sound bites, and I don't mean to, but it just naturally comes to me.
Yeah.
But my heart means like exactly what you said. Like I agree with that, but in explaining the detail, my personal experiences have landed me to the side of being skeptical of some people identify as such, quote unquote, bi, because I've experienced things personally from several different folks, but one very, very prominent relationship in my life where there were several instances where it's like it caused me to kind of be on the like, I don't know, like you things you have to say about the community in which you feel like you identify, so heteronormative, and it makes me feel like I might as well be sitting across from a cis het woman, honestly, if I wasn't looking and thinking and knowing you and experiencing you. And it makes you feel like, and it builds on insecurity because it adds insecurity because it makes you feel like I don't know if I'm ever going to be good enough for like the thing that they have in their mind, or the notion that they have in their mind about how they want life to look like for them. So even though they're letting their body physically experience something, their mind and their inner being is constantly clearly in turmoil because they're constantly saying things that's clearly contradictory to the experience they're having. And that's the piece that I don't think people like woke Twitter never addresses. That shit makes you scared.
I feel like it's just the same way. Like when you get to a certain level, you just need to date the seasoned. So the seasoned bi people, the seasoned lesbians. So exactly, if some bi people don't want to experience biphobia from baby dykes and baby gays, you need to date some seasoned lesbians that understand the dynamics of women loving women, like dynamics. Well, I didn't say dynamics, but anyway, relationships. But vice versa, I feel like with bi women, and when, especially when it's their first relationship with women, they have a big learning curve.
Right.
Because definitely somebody that I've dated before, even their approach to sex, I could tell was catered to men. And we had to have a conversation about it because I'm just like, I get what you're trying to do, but it doesn't feel like it's catered to me.
Yep, you clearly are all over the place. Yep.
It's catered to experiences that you've had before, but you're now dealing with a different gender or identified person.
No, energetically, that's interesting because energetically, like, because the person I was dating historically did date men. Then the first woman that they dated was a more masculine presenting woman.
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't really a long dynamic, and I would say they're more identified in your realm, more of a soft stud type of energy. Not so masculine, like hard, what we've experienced, like, don't do that shit, that's gay. You're like, wait, that's the point. Type of people. And, you know, like, I've been around those very alarmed, and you're like, what is going on? But that's another topic for another day. But, so I've been, like, so that person, historically with the men, the first woman I dated was more like your energy, soft stud type of energy. But they had experiences intimately, sexually, that were like, kind of like, they would experience like, oh, that person didn't want to use a strap, or that person that person only wanted me to do this, like very, very more, and it wasn't the way not saying that paralleling the way you guys wanted to do sex and intimacy, not at all, but just how you physically presented was similar.
Yeah.
And I think she experienced something more masculine energy, so it didn't feel like it was too diverted. I don't know. For me, just the way in which it was explained from her experiences with men. Besides the fact that obviously that they have vagina. She had a vagina. But overall, energetically, it felt like a very similar experience. So she didn't have to challenge herself to show up in a different way. Dating me is dating
that's a key point. You should repeat that point.
Okay.
Challenge yourself to present it in a different way. That's really I want to highlight that one.
But for real, I think that person, and then this is a lot of hindsight and a lot of therapy, and me reflecting on the dynamic and all the things that I didn't really like about it, or what I felt like were just some of the key points of contention, was the fact that there was never a challenge energetically before to show up in a different way. And I think in all aspects, being with me challenged that individual to show up in a more authentic and just in a different way. And I think that a lot of people who identify as bi or not, no label, whatever it is, but who date men and women traditionally, may have that battle sometimes, especially when they're new in the transition. I think they're really hyper criticized for the way in which they show up, because they are new. And it's like, that is, and honestly, we have to be more, I think as people in the lesbian community, even though I don't identify as such, and that's a whole other topic for a whole day again, but people in the traditional lesbian community who have so much biphobic things to say, I think, like, is because a lot of times they don't realize that a lot of people who get themselves to identify as bi, like, oh, I really like men and I really like women, they don't allow themselves to realize, like, a lot of those people, when they start to date women, it's a very, very new experience.
And same goes for lesbians also. It's not only like a bi experience. I think
right.
I've also met women that were new to this transition into like lesbianism or women-centered dating,
right?
And you could tell that there was a disconnect happening, or there was a lot of ignorance being applied because I remember I was talking to this person and they were like, oh, if she's masculine presenting and she wears like panties, like I'm gonna be turned off. And I'm like, so you like them before, you like their energy, you get to the point where you want to be naked with them, and their choice of underwear is an issue?
Oh, no, that's real. Because I've seen a lot of masculine women really subscribe to heteronormativity in like a really ironic way. That I'm like, well, I'm confused. What's going on?
What is the point then?
What's the point?
Especially, like, if we talk about older dykes or older lesbians, even if you look at me, I know some of them would be like, what's going on? You're supposed to be the hard one. You're supposed to be like, and it's just like,
that though.
Yeah.
Like, what? Like, okay, what's happening?
We literally had that experience. Oh shoot, I forgot for a second.
I was just like, hilarious.
Listen, even within masculinity, there's a spectrum of fluidity. If like you can be fluid in whatever you identify as,
right?
But it still has to, like, the fluidity has to be free. That's the basis of it. Right. So when you're telling me you're fluid, but your perspective is heteronormative, then you're no longer fluid.
Even on the opposite, and if I ever challenge the idea, like, okay, what if I was interested, like maybe I'm sexually interested in men, but maybe I'm not emotionally. Well, how do you feel about that? What if I'm not a lesbian? What if I am someone who loves women and adores women? That's primarily my preference. But what if I do like queer men, or what if I'm attracted to that, or what if I'm attracted to trans women and men? Like, what about that? And I think that challenge and that dynamic was always very hilarious because it felt like it was met with such resistance. Like, that's not possible because you're a lesbian. Or they expected me to be one thing, but they didn't want them to be one thing. Like, they could be fluid. Like, oh my God, I'm no label, even though I date these two categories of people. And because, like, in their mind, in that person's mind, their mind is like, I date lesbians, I'm a woman, I date lesbians, that's it. Like, I don't date other bisexual women, I date lesbians, I date women who date women only, and I date cis-het men. That's their categories, even though they're fluid and free, but that's their categories. So if I challenge the idea as someone that with, like, what if I also like this, that, and the third? It's like, so those things that makes me feel like, it makes you feel like, I don't, like, I don't even have any words, like,
apply the same concept. If you match mature and seasoned, come to me.
Period. I have grown to feel the same way. It's like, actually, I don't really care about who it is and how you identify. I just want you to show up to me authentically.
Exactly. As long as you like me.
Space. And not even that, because you can like me and still be ignorant in a second. I've experienced that, so that I don't even want you to just like me, because I want you to show up accountable. Like me, but be accountable too. Like me, but not also tell me, like, I want the real thing. Like, hold up. You like me, but that's still not cute. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I get you.
I want more than like it. I want more than like, because you can like and be nasty. So yes, but I want people to show up accountable, and I want bi people to realize, like, they have some accountability to have on their part, like to realize they're privileged in the community, that they have the ability to be to not say choose, because that's a really, 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 like, muddy water, slippery slope to get into about the choosing of it all, but you have the ability to navigate between different worlds, and sometimes when you navigate back into the world that's a little bit more of a minority, you sometimes come into that world, you a lot of times come into that world with heteronormative ideals from your other world, and you don't realize that you got to adapt to the experience and adapt your perception, and sometimes widen it because it requires you such, because when you live in a heteronormative world, for however long you're in that world, you're like, so if you have a boyfriend for 3 years and then you start dating a woman, you're like, naturally you have to adjust, because, like, energetically it's all different. Even if you're dating a more masculine woman, it's energetically, it's just different, and there's things you're going to have to address within yourself so that you show up in a way that's supportive and like respectful to the space. But I think the gray area is the fact that a lot of times they don't show up respectful to the space.
You gotta see
even though I don't
sides.
identify, you gotta see all the sides. You can't just be like, I'm lesbian, I'm biphobic, and that's it. And I can't be this like, I'm bi and people are biphobic and I don't know why, and I'm such a victim. It's like, no. I've seen y'all be ridiculous. I've heard you be ridiculous.
Yeah, but let's just be killing me though. I'm like, yo, you need to chill.
They be having me cracking up. I'm
not biphobic. I'm just never gonna date a bi person. Fuck them, and I'm like, that seems real.
That seems deep rooted. The whole community.
Oh no, there was a crazy one. It's like, I'm not gonna suck on your pussy if a dick has been in there, and I was just like,
there we go. We're bringing it out. I couldn't remember, but I'm like, there's more than just I'm not dating them, because I think that's low on the totem pole. But when I hear more things, I'm like, oh, hold on, hold on.
Why is like so? I'm sorry for my language, but so you in pussy and you thinking about what was the last thing? Is it a dick that was on you? So now I can't enjoy it. Like, you already there.
You might as well know.
There was enough for you to be there.
Right.
So it's just like, I mean, if it was here like an hour ago, then maybe. But just generally speaking, like a quick 30 ago, maybe I'm gonna be like, okay, like maybe
you need to take a break.
Let's take a second, you know what I'm saying? But if it's just like, I've never been in the context when I was like, when was the last time a dick was in you? Because otherwise,
I've never thought about it.
I can't fuck you.
Never thought about it.
It's like, I've experienced it in the sense that like, you have women that date people that I would definitely think are at the extreme of the gay spectrum. And then when they date men, I found it hard for me to understand how can you be into both, because these two seem to clash. And I'm talking about like the hetero cis men that be really ignorant and like homophobic and just very traditional and just these things. And I'm just like, I don't have a problem with you dating cis hetero men, but it's but it's more about the values that they uphold and the way that they show up. So to me, it feels like you said, the transition wasn't happening, because for you to be able to go back to that, in a way, tells me that in yourself you didn't see it, because some of them be dating men that are homophobic, or I was gonna say kind of homophobic, but it's just, there's no kind of homophobic. You're just homophobic. You know?
Absolutely.
So they be dating men that have very homophobic views or comments and things to say, and I'm just like, but you're not straight. So this should apply to a part of yourself. So then that same part of themselves that I feel was locked off in relationships with women is just, you know, sometimes it also has to be communicated. So in a sense, like, you have obviously bisexuals that are all around the spectrum, where it'd be like, okay, I might be interested in women only sexually. You need to let that be known. Or it's like, oh, there are bisexuals that are like, yeah, I fuck dudes, but romantically, I'm only into women. So I think it's like, you need to know, not specifically where you stand, but you need to know at least the area, so the people that you date can adjust their expectations to the relationship. Because if you tell me you're bi and then you don't specify, and then at the end of the day, which is completely valid, where you're like, oh, I'm only into women sexually, then there needs to be a readjustment. So it's just more like, exactly, matured and seasoned and self-aware, so you can show up in the space and you could be like, hey, this is what I like, this is what I want from it, and then the other person could be like, okay, cool, I'm cool with that, or cool, I'm not.
It's very important and I don't want to place emphasis on people having to strictly categorize themselves as something, because I don't want people to feel restricted like that. But I think when you proclaim something, I think it's important for you to at least be accountable enough to make sure that you're being clear, to make sure that when you show up in spaces, it's safe. Is it a preference, or is it biphobic if you say, I don't prefer to date bisexuals, I only want to date women who date women?
I personally think,
is that preference or phobia?
A little bit biphobic, because you can't just eliminate a whole group. Like, to me, it's just...
I got a challenge for you on that.
Yeah.
How do you feel when people say then, parallel, well, I like women, but I don't want to date, I don't prefer to date white women. I'm not interested in them.
That's still a preference, because you're telling me you like women, but a specific type of women. So that's a preference. But then,
so when I like women who date women, but I just don't want to engage myself with women who don't exclusively date women. Is that not a preference?
Not to me. I've just never heard of an excuse that wasn't biphobic. You feel me?
That's true. That's true.
So that's why I'm like, I feel like it's biphobic because you haven't experienced every bi person. And like we said, if we date people that are like mature and seasoned, I'm sure that the approach is completely different. And even if I think about people that I dated previously, once they got through that learning curve, the approach was completely different. And I'm like, okay, now are you actually ready to have women with women relationship? And now we can flow. And actually, you can cut that part out. But that's just more for my personal questions. Have you tried the ones that like be going in?
And like, oh, because you didn't in it up.
Like in, because it's like the strap, like it doesn't have straps. It just goes into your coochie.
Oh no. yes. Because you say in, I would think of something else. You know them tools where they're like this, and it got like a little thing to it. I don't know. Okay, I'll be using tools, but okay. So yes, separate from the
Oh, not the hand, the one that be going in and that vibrates inside of you.
Oh, the vibrates. Well,
the latch, the pussy latch, for straps.
Oh, I don't think I've ever. Or maybe the way you're describing it, I feel like I'm not used. I don't feel like I've used it.
Let me draw you a picture.
I'm screaming.
Wait, let me
get a little slow today. Let me Google it. Pussy latch.
They be like, okay, they be like this, and then this part go in your coochie.
Oh yes, you know I'm a visual person. Clearly, absolutely.
And then this part vibrates.
Absolutely, yes. That's what I thought it was talking about. But like I could.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so these. Have you used these?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I was talking about in terms of control.
Mm-hmm.
Is the control the same? Does it wobble? Does it like?
I think it's the same depending on how you navigate it, but it can be wobbly. I'm not going to even hold you on that. But I think it's the same. Again, depending on how you navigate it.
Got you. But can you go ahead with it? Or like, you got to have a certain motion? Can you just be like, guns a-blazing?
I think you got to have a certain motion. And that's why I say depending on how you navigate it. Because you got to have a certain motion. You got to be very strategic about it to make sure that experience is plentiful.
Got you. That's
what I think.
I wanted to know because also my thing is I want to get distracted because it's the same thing as like with 69. It's like somebody's bound to get distracted.
I'm screaming. Because I get distracted, and that in the 69 hashtag the cancer sign, I absolutely get distracted every single time that happens. I'm so distracted, I just can't focus. But I'm gonna try to focus because a lot of things are happening, and I'm trying to do things, and then you respond to the things that I'm doing, and then you respond to the things that you're doing to me, and I'm exhausted, but I'm having a good time. energetically. There's so much going on, and I want to process it.
Yeah.
And it feels good.
That's what I'm saying with that, and the part that vibrates. I feel like I'm gonna get distracted.
It's easy to be distracted, but you gotta be strategic. So be like, alright, like you gotta go into it strategically because I heard it. So yes. Everything you say, yes. Yes. They be like, you know how people be like, you want pasta or you want fries? Yes. All of it, yes. I love that response, yes. Because yes. Absolutely. I love that we're doing this. Because as much as it feels authentic to how we always navigate, people are going to see this exchange. But I love that because people have always played second fiddle to like our like soulmate friendship dynamic, and that every time other people hung out with us, no matter how many other people it was, it always felt like they were third wheel to us. Even if it was three of the people that hung out with us, they were like, I don't know, I felt like excluded from y'all. I was like, what was other people there? You could hang out with them.
Y'all wasn't bringing the spice. What's good? You know what's funny? I don't know. You probably don't remember her because it was my sister's friends on New Year's, and I like at first we were supposed to meet up with you at your house. Eventually we talked, and she was telling me like, yeah, there was a part of me that also didn't want to go at her house because the way you described the energy between you and her, I felt like I was going to be left out. And I was like, how are you not even experiencing it yet? But you already feel excluded.
She already felt excluded. She was right to make that decision. And I appreciate that, friend. I love you, friend. We gonna end it.
Love you too.
I'm gonna go eat some snacks because I'm hungry again. And I can't wait till we connect again because it's always good times, good vibes. I'm faded, so I'm gonna just end it. Y'all, thank y'all for tuning in. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all staying tuned for the conversation with Chris. Y'all go follow her on the socials. Y'all stay tuned for the next episode because again, I'm gonna bring out spicy, good, relevant topics in and based around the queer community. I want y'all to feel safe. I want y'all to feel authentic, and I want y'all to have a good time. It's been your girl B Dot. Follow me, like, share, subscribe. I love y'all. Peace. See y'all next time.
We don't